This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CBTNews.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Driving Solutions, exclusively right here at CBTNews.com. CallRevu's intelligent communication solution now includes hosted phone. So what could this mean for your dealership operation? Here to tell us all about it is Eric Glass, Senior Director of Sales at Engineering and Enablement at CallRevu, I should say, and Dave Malone, who's the Senior Vice President of Sales at CallRevu as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. This is awesome.
Thanks for having us. This is awesome.
We're fun.
Glad to be here.
Great. So let me start with you, if I can, Eric. First, can you provide kind of an overview of CallRevu's intelligent communication solution that I just talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are an end-to-end, cradle-to-grave call monitoring and tracking solution, and now we have a hosted phone system, which is very exciting. So we can truly handle everything from your phone system being put in, and then all the way through call monitoring, tracking, benchmarking all your salespeople, both in variable and fixed ops, which lets you better educate your teams, bring your low performers up to where your top performers are on the front and the back side of the house, which is very exciting. And then there's a lot of other ad source ROI tracking in there as well that lets you see your marketing spend, lets you get a vision into that as well as the call monitoring.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yep. Can you separate the two? If I'm a dealer and I say, well, I don't want to change my phone system yet, but I do want to go with CallRevu.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we are agnostic. And if you don't want to do that, we have a box that we can put in your server rack that will allow you to capture all the calls, or we don't have to do that. You can just buy an analytics package from us and just do the call tracking and monitoring.
Fantastic, fantastic. So how does the hosted phone system integrate with CallRevu's all-powered technology?
So the hosted phone system is going to feed directly into our analytics. And it's just going to take all of the great data that we're getting from that hosted phone system and plug it in. And the nice thing is that what it does is it gives us complete control over how the calls are routed, where they're going, and then what data that goes in there. So we're going to be able to identify much more accurately and much more quickly which agent took the call, how long they were on the call, the types of things that they're consuming, the type of things that they're talking about, and then add those keywords and that rich metadata into our analytics engine.
Nice. I see you shaking your head. You want to add to that?
Yeah, he's absolutely right. When it comes down to it, a lot of dealerships right now, they always want to have something that's more seamless, right? It's hard to go from platform to platform. Now with this acquisition with us and CallRevu, it really provides the dealership one place to go to. So that all of a sudden they start feeling a whole lot more comfortable knowing that anytime any data comes in for their most important leads, right? I mean, when their most important leads come in, there's no room to fail. It's a time that we need to make sure that they are focused on something that's going to make them money and help them. So between both of these scenarios, it really collects all data and helps them out quickly.
Fantastic. What specific advantages does the hosted phone system offer businesses and dealerships?
Yeah, it's not just dial tone with us, right? I mean, a lot of hosted phone systems are just dial tone. They record the call. What we do is way more than that. From the time the phone call comes in, we analyze it, we record it. We will let you know if that phone call is being challenged. We can send an alert out to the right people during that call while it's happening, letting them know, hey, this call is going on. Here's some key words. Here's some key things that you need to recognize. This is what you need to be alerted for.
Right.
I mean, right now, trades are a big deal, right?
Yeah,
trades are still a big deal.
Of course.
Right now, we have a lot of people on our group. If a trade is mentioned, the word trade is mentioned, an alert can go to a sales manager who's responsible for appraising that vehicle while that call is going on. That's how important it is for us because we know how important it is for them.
Wow, that is just incredible.
Yeah.
You want to add to that? Or
yes, I think that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is those real-time alerts are really helping dealers hone in on that. And it's taking that from the fixed op side, from the variable op side to the fixed op side, because that has been a huge shift since COVID. A lot of dealerships are really paying a lot of attention to what's happening in their service department. And to be able to get a CSI warning in real time, like you were talking about, even with a trade warning, to be able to pop that up and then jump in while that call is happening as the manager, just to barge in or be able to have that conversation with your service rep afterwards to say, hey, I saw this coaching opportunity immediately.
That's huge.
It's not the next day. Correct the behavior when it happens. So that way, when the next time it comes in, that rep is even doing better, and it's not going to happen again.
How does CallRevu's solution ensure seamless communication across different channels?
Sure. When that phone call comes in, it can come in from a lot of different ways, right? Campaigns are important to dealerships. They're spending a lot of money on marketing. So it can come in from a phone call, it can come in from chat and so forth. What we do is we make sure those phone calls that come in, we know that borrower is serious, right? Anybody can email, anybody can chat, but if a borrower, a buyer comes and calls in, we know if they get on the phone, 56% of the time they're making an appointment the way we go about it. So if you can think about half the phone calls that are calling in for a specific purchase, and we can get them to set an appointment, they're going to buy that car.
That's
from
huge.
off of our analytics, off of our alerts. That's really where we set ourselves apart within the channel.
Oh my gosh. So what are some of the common communication challenges that dealerships face, and how does CallRevu address them?
There's a lot of challenges when a phone call comes in, and sometimes people wait on hold too long and they disconnect, they go away.
It's the worst.
So a couple different things. The way our phone system works, we can have that phone call go to a lot of people all at one time.
Okay.
We can control it. And what that does is we'll get that call to the right people at the right time. And even if for some reason, if it pauses or if they go away, what if that customer drops on their end? What if they're in a bad cell zone reception place themselves?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. We have a way to capture that potential customer, get it back to a BDC department or back to a receptionist, whoever it might be that's going to take that phone call and grab them and bring them back. That's to us is most important. Most dealerships, you probably know this, Jim, they're spending $300 to get the phone to ring per customer, right? Depending on where they're at geographically.
That's right.
It can even be more than that,
That's right?
So saying that, we know how important that abandoned call could be. So we want to make sure we get that. The ones that do connect, great. Now that they're connected, is the sales team or service team, are they saying the right things? Are they doing the right things? And if they are, the phone call will go through seamlessly. If there's challenges along the way, we recognize them. We know what to do with them. We bring them up to the right person to make sure that can be put in a spot to be captured and fixed. ROI is a big deal with that.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of that, the flip side outside of the phone, just looking at the analytics, right? When we're providing you your appointment set rates, and more importantly, one of the most interesting stats that I point out whenever I'm talking to dealers is that did not set an appointment, right? How many people are you talking to where there was no connection made, there wasn't an appointment attempt even talked to by your rep on that side. So you can drill into that data and then put together these very detailed call lists for your next day. Like, hey, we didn't set an appointment with these 10 people yesterday. Sales manager, why don't you go and call down that list and see if we can get any of them in? Or another great example is we have one of our directors of our account managers has a great story where somebody had called the dealership, and to Dave's point about being able to get to call queues and put things in there, this gentleman called the dealership, was put on hold, got in his car, drove 45 minutes to the dealership, walked up to the receptionist and said, when is somebody going to take my car?
Oh my gosh.
And so then, that was, I mean,
we know that's a real exception.
Exactly.
Nobody's staying on hold that long.
Right. But he stayed on call because it was apparently the third or fourth time this had happened to this gentleman.
We've all felt like that when reaching out to retailers, right?
Exactly. And then being able to see that with the analytics and then the round robin features that we have and the way we can disseminate those calls across the dealership to make sure that never happens. And then looking at the backside of that, where you're able to see the rich customer data of how many times has this person called in the last 6 months? Is this a repeat caller?
Right.
Did they get action? Is there an alert on this? Did my sales team take action against it in a timely fashion? And really hone in on those processes to make sure there's optimal.
I'm putting my dealer hat back on, and I love the fact that everything is in real time. It's not something that you're looking at historical data to go, oh, we should have done this better. Well, that customer's driving already at another dealership.
Right.
So
you can use those instances for sales training down the road, and that's not a problem, right? But for that phone call that comes in, that live is important. Otherwise, it becomes white noise to those dealerships. And all of a sudden, if phone calls become white noise to salespeople, BDC people, they stop working very hard.
That's right.
So we make sure that they recognize with our phones, when that call comes in, doesn't matter if it's for the BDC or service or sales, that's such a call that we will make sure it's critical to them. And that way they can act upon it. That way it never becomes white noise to them.
I think the other thing to think about there too is when we think about it from the consumer perspective, you know, you don't answer, you don't do something. I'm on Auto Trader. I'm like, boop, next.
Exactly. You are one click away, right, from losing that deal.
You're one click away from, exactly.
And we all want it immediately. We want that information immediately. And it also would seem to me that in managing stores for 25 years, when the store staff knows that CallRevu's in and they're monitoring these calls, they're going to be different on the phone, right? I mean, the olden days where it's like, you want to buy a car today? No, all right, goodbye. Click, hang up. They know nobody's listening. There's no tracking. There's no analytics.
That's right.
But for the staff inside the store, I'm sure it changes the culture, right? to have everybody be professional on those calls.
Absolutely, because we know where the phone call came from.
Right.
We know the customer's name.
Yeah.
We have so much on them, so
Sure.
that when that phone call comes in, the person that's helping them, they can also identify. So we have a story that before somebody used our services, a lot of phone calls came in. They had no idea who they were talking to. For instance, a person can call in who's already bought 5 vehicles from them, and they treat that person just like they would treat anybody they didn't know, right? So now what we do for our team, to the people that buy our solution, they recognize when that guy comes in, he knows that Jim's bought 5 cars. He's been in the service department 10 times.
It's
that
about
changes
time.
everything,
right? It's about time. Yeah.
I've had a store tell me they bought our service almost just from that because they wanted to treat people like VIPs, and they couldn't.
No question about it. Yeah, just like when you call up and it's a Hilton or a Ritz-Carlton or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for welcome back and good to see you staying with us." And you're like, "Wow, they're on their game. They know that we stayed with them," and that's so important in retailing today.
Well, we all want loyalty. We talk about loyalty, but what do we do to get it, right? And this is one simple thing. It's not very heavy lifting to do. We put data in front of somebody who can communicate very effectively to that person who's been in that store before. That's going to create loyalty. Instead of, like what you said, Eric, instead of them hanging up and going to the next car, they're going to stick with us.
Right. And with the huge turnover in the industry, and I'm sorry, I know that I'm going to get some emails on that. It's a huge turnover still in the industry. We still suffer from that. It's these types of fail-safe programs are very important to the dealer. And his investment or her investment in that dealership, because you might have somebody that's brand new, and if they don't know that person's purchased 5 or 6 cars, like you said, they're going to treat that person just like a fresh phone up or what have you, and that's a huge mistake. I mean, that individual might be spending $250,000, over the course of 4 or 5 different cars. You know what I mean? And
especially for the Highliners. I mean, we have a lot of Highline dealerships in our group, and we know that every customer of theirs could be worth $250,000.
That's exactly right.
So we make sure that guy is treated like gold.
Yeah, for sure. This next question is so important, and I know for the dealers that are listening, it's one thing to sign up with a company. It's another thing to have the training and support after that sign up. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the big complaints that I get from dealers is, ask them about the support and the training. I know you guys pride yourself on that. So Eric, where does that stand, and what does that look like?
So once you sign with us, you get a full dedicated onboarding team that's going to walk you through the process, the setup, making sure all your lines are put in. If you do get a hosted phone system from us, our man Jonathan, they're going to come out, they're going to install the phone system for you. They're going to get you all set up. They're going to train you on the phone system, and then you'll be handed off to one of our account managers who's going to train you on the software.
And when you say train you, do you mean train the store or the staff, or do you mean train just the dealer, or who do they
train? Everybody you want to be trained.
Okay, great.
And then we have, so that's the live training aspect of it, to learn how to use the phone system and then learn how to use the analytics engine. And we have different trainings tailored to, if you're a GM, you're going to use that system a little bit different than what your sales managers are going to do it versus what your service managers are going to do it. And then we have this concept of what's called CallRevu University, which is a totally online training system that you can go to and access at any time, where there's on-demand content. And then we're about to start live content back up in there to do live trainings with a bunch of our partners around the country for things like phone skills trainings and stuff like that. More to come on that later.
Yeah, I really believe, I'll plug the Ritz-Carlton out there. We're the Ritz-Carlton of that training, because a lot of companies who buy a hosted phone system, when they purchase from them, they'll ship them the phones. It's up to you to unbox them.
I've actually heard of those stories.
They plug them in, and now they're like, where's the dashboard?
What
do I do?
Right. And here's a video.
Here's a video, right? And we know that's a mistake. So we send people boots on the ground. We make sure that we sit next to them in the trenches to make sure they feel very comfortable. We do not leave that dealership. To everybody in that store, to Eric's point, they feel very good. They know exactly where to go, what to find. Everything is set up. Overhead paging, if they still want that, is in tune, and it's great. So nothing is left.
What would a dealership be without overhead paging?
I don't know. Yeah, they'd be calling us, I guess.
Somebody please move the demo away from the front. So how does CallRevu hosted phone system scale to accommodate the growing needs of a business? I might start with one store, maybe it's a Kia store, and then I add other stores to it, or maybe I increase the size of the footprint of that Kia store. How do you guys handle that?
That's a great question, because I really feel like that's something that we're superior with, and this is why. Once we have it in a store, and I already mentioned how well we do with setting it up,
Sure.
From there on out, it's very easy, even to the point if somebody wanted to just add 1 or 2 more employees. We just hired 2 more sales people.
Happens all the time.
It's so simple within our dashboard. They could either plug that new sales or service advisor in the dashboard. They're already set up. If they want us to do it for them remotely, we can. We have access to do that.
Oh, wow.
Compared to, there's a lot of buy sells going on right now. A lot of purchases, right?
That's why I asked.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, and it's going to be a bigger deal over the next few years. So we are very in tune, and we help a lot of dealerships who are 17, 18 stores today, wanting to move to 25 stores over the next 6 months, getting everything plugged in. The challenge with a lot of dealerships today, they are on, it's terrible. Sometimes they're not only on a few different phone tracking providers, they're on a few different hosted or phone systems everywhere. Yeah. So sometimes store A can't even call over to store B. They have to hang up and call out. It's just an absolute mess. Yeah. So once you're on with us, the spider web is gone. It's clear right through everybody. Nice. Everybody can reach each other very simply.
Which in 2024, that's the way it should be.
It's the way it should be. It's so crazy that people are not operating that way, but they're still out there.
I'm speaking now for the whole industry right now, but we are a little slow in this industry to get ramped up to the technology that's needed, right?
Sometimes the solution's there. The great news is the solution's there.
That's right.
I think the other interesting thing is when you untangle that spider web, right, that we're able to do with the hosted phone system, and then you look at it on the analytics side, whether it's sales vision or service vision, you now have the ability to look across the entirety of the group, all of your stores, and see, all right, I've got an amazing high performer over here in my Kia dealership, but maybe my Ford dealership over here is struggling a little bit. Well, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take this person over here that's performing. I'm going to go plug him in over here, have him bring that up, and then move him back. So you're able to see that cross-group analytics and see where all your stores are performing and how they're performing and what's actually working with the customers in region.
Transparency's got to be a big thing. And you really just hit on the head. Thank you for saying that, because it reminds me, if I take a look at somebody who is managing several stores, GM, managing several stores, he can see transparency across the group. Every employee, how many inbound calls they take, how many outbound do they make? Matter of fact, how many connections they make. They might have called a lot of people, but are they actually talking to people? Oh, and by the way, I keep looking from left to right on my graph, and now I saw how many appointments they set or where they failed. Right. So if I'm a general manager or somebody in that manager position that needs to know all that transparency, not just with that one rooftop, but all of his stores all on one desktop, we can do that for him.
It also helps that the salesperson that's not able to get up to speed, and they're seeing that, no, this can be done. Look, you've got Tom up here that's really knocking the cover off the ball, setting appointments and getting people in. You're making the same number of phone calls, Susie or Bob or whatever, but yet your conversion rate is way, way lower. So rather than thinking, oh, I just got a bad list, or I just got a bad, I don't know how to do this or whatever, that's where the training kicks in, because you've got those analytics, right?
It really does. A lot of people are like, oh, it sounds too good to be true. And I tell them, well, it's not for automotive, because this is all we do. Yeah. There's a lot of hosted phone system providers that speak across all verticals. They'll go anywhere. Yeah. And 99% of our customers are automotive. The 1% are the people that have asked us, hey, can you help us? My dad owns a dealership. We do this. But everything we do is automotive specific, because we understand their life and what they're going through, their challenges and their successes. Right. That way it's not too good to be true. It's happening every single day.
That's right. That's right. As a dealer principal myself and running a store, every time the phone would ring, you or the operator you'd see her pick up a phone, you're thinking, okay, well, there's $300 to your point. What's going to happen now? You know what I mean? And who is the call going to? Because you kind of knew going in. We didn't have this technology when I was running stores. But if it went to salesperson A, you'd go, yes, that went to the right person, right? But if it went to salesperson B, you're like,
oh boy, here we go. That was a waste of $300.
That was a waste of $300. You just help another dealership sell a car. You know what I mean? And because you didn't have the technology, and a lot of dealers are brought up in the industry over the last 20, 30, 40 years, and they know what I'm talking about. But to have the technology to be able to do this is absolutely crazy not to have this. Yeah. In fact, talk to me about the savings and the ROI that businesses can expect from a CallRevu's communication solutions. I think that's paramount, right?
Right now in the dealership world, a general manager, a salesperson, they all want to be able to be reached in some capacity. So our system goes across everything. What I mean by that, if they have their desk That's great. If they walk out on the lot and here's their mobile phone, great. Wherever they are at, a phone call that comes in, we can reach them.
Right.
Matter of fact, a lot of our dealerships, when the phone rings, it can go to several different places that they want to be reached,
Cool.
4 or 5 different places. So where I'm going with that with the ROI is, instead of having 4 or 5 different partners that you need to collaborate in with where all this data is coming, now you have one spot. You have CallRevu. So we can help their mobile. We could help where the phone call comes in. So instead of them spending money everywhere on every device, it all is in one spot.
It's creating. It's with us. It's about creating single sources of truth for that deal, right?
Sure.
So from whether it's your phone system ringing where you are, back to the analytics, and then whether you're in into a CDP or a CRM, right? We are that single source of truth, that can be that throughput for your analytics across the dealership.
And CDP is a big deal right now, right? And I think we're very good at recognizing where those phone calls are coming in from A to Z.
Yeah,
and
huge.
now all of a sudden, when we talk about ROI, going back to the word transparency, we can give dealer principals, general managers, the transparency of seeing where their money is being spent, where it's falling short, where the ball is being dropped. Because at the end of the day, you want to know all the successes, but you want to know where the hole in the bucket's at.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where we come into play. We know where every single hole in the bucket's at.
Yeah, and many dealerships that are listening to us are spending, $50,000, $150,000, $200,000 a month in marketing and advertising and digital and billboards and TV and you name it. They're still doing that, believe it or not.
That's right.
But and to your point, they do want to know where the hole in the bucket is, because it's kind of like, what are we doing? And if you talk to most managers or salespeople, they tell you we need more advertising. Well, you'll listen to the calls and go, no, we don't. No. We don't need more advertising. We need more training. We might need more, technology that gets that customer in quicker, but we don't necessarily need to throw more money at marketing.
Right.
Just maximize the marketing and the opportunities that you've got coming into the store.
Yeah. I tell people, if we can't save them money or make them money off of the phone calls that come in, then fire us, right?
Yeah.
Because ROI should be all inclusive. How do I keep everything in one spot where you're not just bleeding money in all these different places? You can't see it. Where's it going?
Right.
You see where it's at. With us.
I'm sure that you've got some clients that come to you and say, wow, these are my numbers before CallRevu, and this is after we installed CallRevu. And it's got to be a substantial number that they're seeing as an increase, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it really is. Hate to date myself. I've been in automotive for 31 years, now, and you become friends with a lot of dealer principals, a lot of GMs. Yeah. And the biggest thing that I go, if I go, 4th of July is coming up, right? I'm going to go probably to dinner with a few folks here. They thank me for what is being now fixed on their end, where they had challenges in the past. And it felt like it was such a challenge getting from A to Z with a phone call. We fixed all of that for them. So we're friends now.
Sure.
So I hear those great stories all the time.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a question for both of you, and I'll let either one of you, or I should say both of you, answer it. But how do you guys at CallRevu differentiate yourself? And I can start with you, Eric, from some of the other players in this space.
I think the biggest differentiator for us is we now have everything from cradle to grave, right? Okay. So from the ring to the hang up. And everything in between, where we can provide that rich data set. If you think about the amount of data points that we capture, we have 32, and 27 of them are unique to us. None of our competitors have them.
Wow.
The 5 that we have are across the industry. Yeah. And to Dave's point, I think the bigger thing is we were born in a car dealership, right? CallRevu started by Chip back in his dealership in Towson.
Yep, that's right.
All those years ago, and that's one of the biggest differentiators. So everything that we have done, it has been automotive first.
Yeah, that's great.
And we've never even thought about anything else, which I think is our biggest key differentiator.
That's right. That's right. I remember having Chip on the show many times back when, and he was so excited about what the future held and where this was going, and so it's cool to see this thing fully evolve, and that's pretty cool. So what's your take on that? If somebody said, what separates you from the other guys?
I mean, my man's absolutely correct. I mean, it's hard to pile on, but you're right. At one point, when you wanted call monitoring or call tracking, you had to go to a certain place.
Yeah.
If you wanted to host a phone system, you had to go to another place.
Right.
And if I wanted sales training, teach my team sales, had to go to another place.
That's right.
All of those things are under one umbrella. It's all under CallRevu. Yeah. So that makes it a lot more simple, because going back to ROI, now we can bundle all that. All of that pricing's together. So now, can we save them money? Yes. A. B. They don't have to go to all of these different partners in the space. They got it all under one roof with CallRevu.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
One
nice.
throat to choke.
Yeah.
I believe is the expression we like to
One
use.
throat to choke.
One throat to choke.
Let me tell you, the industry, there's a few throats being choked as we sit here and speak.
Yep.
But Eric, talk to me about what future developments or enhancements can we expect to see from CallRevu?
So I think outside of the acquisition and bringing Dave and the rest of the TCX team on board, it's really the way that we're repositioning, and you guys are gonna start to see that. It's no longer about sales vision or service vision or phones. It's about telephony. It's going to be call tracking, analytics and insights, training, and then brand. And I think the biggest thing is that training side, right? So we're about to release something called Test Track, which is going to be the industry first AI training module. So if you think about, Jordan, 10,000 free throws, Tiger Woods, 10,000, drives, whatever it is, you can, one quote from Jordan comes to mind is, you could take 10,000 free throws all day, but if your form is terrible, it's not going to matter.
That's right.
Right.
So you've almost locked that in.
The premise behind Test Track is you're going to be able to set scenarios for new salespeople that come in. And you're going to be having them challenge the AI.
Okay.
Yeah. They're going to be talking to an AI as if it was an actual conversation, meeting specific criteria. So that way, the scenario you brought up a little bit earlier, Jim, is salesperson A picks up the phone. You're like, yes, salesperson B picks it up. Well, now you know that they've got their 10,000 reps in before they ever get on the phone.
That's nice.
And they know exactly how to handle it. So that's one of the biggest innovations that we're very, very excited about coming towards the end of July.
We want them to be prepared, right?
Yeah,
If a salesperson is not prepared, a service advisor is not prepared, they're going to stumble. Why not give them that training up front? We'll provide great service for that.
Yeah. Yep. You guys must grow quickly from the GMs and managers and desk managers and such and sales managers that have you at the store that they're in, and then they move stores and they don't have CallRevu. Yeah. That's probably the first call they make is go, okay, I need you right in here because I can look like a hero in 60 days.
Yeah, I use the word cross-pollination right there, right? Sure, we do. Going back to friends in the business.
Yeah, right.
When they do move, if they have to move, you're right.
Well, I could see it as such a tool for management, running stores between the training, the accountability, the analytics, everything. It's just, why would you not do this?
Well, we make them look like a star. Right. At the end of the day, whoever they're reporting to, they have to look like a star. And I think we give them transparent data that allows them to look at that. Or if anything, they can see where the challenges are at. Sure. So they need to know about it. If they don't, if CallRevu is not in their store and they got other platforms, it can be very muddy. So how do you fix something you don't know about?
Sure. We have so many viewers that watch us each day, and they'll be watching this show that run big dealership groups, publicly traded companies, and as well as the smaller private cap groups and what have you. But there's a lot of groups out there today that have got 10 plus dealerships. You ever get the opportunity where a dealer calls and goes, look, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm going to give you I've got 10 stores. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 of my worst performing. Show us what you're made of. You ever get that call?
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest calls that we get is,
really?
Let me plug you in here to see how this works. And then we grow across, we end up growing across the group because it is when we get in that one store, they all of a sudden can say, oh, wait a minute. Now I can see where my appointments are being set. I can see who's setting them. Sure. I can see how that throughput is when that data comes back to the CRM on like, hey, this is there. Right. And then the other interesting thing, you brought it up a little bit earlier, is looking at that employee level performance, but then being able to go another layer down and actually see the individual employee's scorecard and see those individual metrics on did they get the phone number? Did they get the email? Did they actually have the right conversation with this person? Yeah. How is that benchmarking against our store? And how is that benchmarking against all of CallRevu and where I sit there across the board to really drive that improvement? And as soon as they see that data flowing through, it's like, yep, okay, cool. Here's the rest of the group.
That's right. I can't mention names, right? But I mean, I've had GMs who've come over and took over a 5-store group. Yeah. And just what you said, Jim, they've come to me and they said, this particular store, we're either thinking about selling it. It's just that, it's just that bad, right?
Every group's got that.
They got that one,
ugly duckling, right? You're like, we had to buy it with the group, but we don't like it.
Exactly.
They came with it. It was part of the deal.
That's right.
But I say, let's look at them over the next 6 months. Let's take from poor and get them to average. Let's go from average, get them to good. Yeah. The other thing is also true. The stores that the person bought that were a good store, we got them to great. So it's one thing to go from poor to, at least we don't have to sell them now. They're making money. But stores that were doing good before, all of a sudden, now they have things in front of them that they can be great. Yeah. They can be better now in trades. That's right. They can be better now when somebody mentions competition. Hey, so-and-so down the street just
That technology blows me away. That's incredible.
Where we separate ourselves.
Yeah.
I think a GM wants to know if somebody's on the phone with their salespeople today and they just mentioned the competition.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Why let that person hang up and now try to call him back 30 or 40 minutes later? It takes 7 to 8 times to get them back on the phone.
Yep.
It's very difficult.
You
can do it, but it's hard.
It is.
Why not take it when they're at the hottest part, when they want to buy? They're on the phone now because they want to buy now. So why not let them buy now?
That's right. That's right. You know, dealers that are listening to us have this conversation. It's 2024. I don't know if you knew that, but it's 2024. It is time to bring this kind of technology into your store. I can't tell you how important something like this is. You already know it. And if you don't have a program like this, which I don't know of another program like this out there, and I'm in a pretty good position to tell you if there was, which is why we wanted to bring CallRevu in. These are the kinds of solutions we want to be bringing our dealer audience. It's like I said, it's time to step up. It's 2024 to bring this technology in. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your staff, you owe it to your managers, and you owe it to your bottom line, because this is where you can be losing deals. As we speak, every time that phone rings, you're either making money or you're losing money. Up to you as to what you want to do with it. And here's the solution right here. I can't do anything more than to be bringing you these things. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Eric Glass and Dave Malone from CallRevu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CBTnews.com.